Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tennesha Wood. I just got up from like a massive nap. When you hit like 35, you need naps as if you're a baby again. Like, in order for me to get right tonight and do this interview and go out, I was like, I need a nap. My friend Nadine is in town. We went to junior high and high school together. So we go way, way back to the days of
Throwback Thursday,
Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Hey, Nadine.
Hey, Ten.
How you doing?
I'm great. It feels good to be in New York. It's a beautiful place. It never sleeps, and I like to turn up. So
Nadine's here because she's going to homecoming this weekend. So she made a quick stop.
Delaware State
in New York.
HBCU.
Woo woo.
Yeah. Going to an HBCU saved me. I think I needed it, and it was the greatest experience. And now I tell like all my friends and people that I meet in Minnesota, like if your kid is a kid of color, raised here, send them to an HBCU for college.
Right, right. They need a little more diversity.
Yep.
So I wanted to have you on because I think that you have like a miraculous story of hope and perseverance.
Thank you.
And I think that people need to hear your story. Just a backdrop to Nadine's story. She was in a relationship, got married, had some kids. It was an abusive relationship. And she came out of all that and now is an attorney. So how did you get from there to here?
Man, I don't know. By the grace of God. Eventually, I had enough and had to walk away and realize that the person I was with was not going to stop using drugs, and I couldn't continue using with him.
Well, how did that start out? So, like, how did the relationship start? How did you guys meet? All that?
I'll back it up. So we met when I was 17. He was 23. So he's 6 years older than me. And we met through a mutual friend. And I was going through my rebellious teenage phase where I didn't care what my parents were saying or anybody else was saying. And so I decided to deal with this guy that I probably shouldn't have been dealing with in the first place. Did you know that at the time? No, not really.
Okay.
Hindsight, So we start dating, and none of my friends like him, but I'm, enthralled with him. And so we continue dating, but then he ends up catching a case and going to prison. So he goes to prison, and I decide to leave Minnesota and go to college. So while I'm away at Delaware State.
And are you guys still together?
No, not really. It's kind of like, I got to do this time. You go do you. And so I did me, but we still communicated while I was away. And then when I graduated, he was getting released around the same time. And so
perfect
timing. Oh, foolishness. And so then I ended up going to Minnesota to visit him when he got out, and we hit it off, and he and I decided to try to make it work. So he moved back out east with me. And shortly after, I got pregnant with my oldest son. And
now, did you have any qualms about dating somebody who had been in jail that long?
No, not at all. I had my own experience with the criminal justice system. I caught a case when I was 17. And so I had a heart for people who had criminal records. I never judged people because of that. And I have a huge heart. So that didn't bother me so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up getting pregnant, and then he had violated some term of his parole. Mm-hmm. And so he ended up going back to prison shortly.
While you were pregnant?
While I was pregnant, like within weeks of me being due. I think he went to prison 2 weeks before I had our son that's now 10 years old. So that was a super stressful experience. So I was out in Delaware by myself having this baby. and just surrounded by my friends that were here, but my family, everybody was in Minnesota.
Right.
So then eventually I ended up moving back to Minnesota, although I didn't have any desire to, but that's what was the best thing for me to be closer to support. He ended up having to go back for a year. So for the first year, I raised our oldest son by myself.
Wow.
And then he got out, and we moved back. We were living together, and then we decided we needed to get married. And so we...
What was the purpose for you guys at that moment in getting married?
At the time, I was heavily involved in my church and just felt like that was the right thing we needed to do. We already had a kid. We were living together. We were sleeping together. Why not get married? Like this, we love each other. We know we want to be together forever. Why not get married? So we ended up getting married. But prior to the wedding, I had reservations about it. And I remember like days before my wedding saying, I need to call this wedding off and just have a big party, because I can't do this. But then in the back of my mind, it's like, no, you have guests from everywhere here and you've spent all this money. Maybe you guys just had an argument. Just go ahead and go through.
What was it that made you say or think, I shouldn't go through with this?
I just felt like he was very inconsiderate. He got in his feelings about something and just disappeared. So we didn't hear from him. And so I literally didn't think he was going to show up at our wedding rehearsal.
So you didn't hear from him for how long before the wedding?
A day. For a whole day, I didn't hear from him. And then
I would have been like, you are not about to leave me at this altar. You will not.
So he showed up to the rehearsal late. One of the groomsmen brought him, and one of the pastor who married us like had a conversation with us, and like, hey, this is what you guys said you wanted, and made us talk about like, do we want to do this or not? And we decided that we still wanted to.
And this is the day before.
This is the day before the wedding. So we go through, we get married. And he literally changed after we said I do. Like I felt like a possessive.
Great. Now I own you.
Right. Literally, I felt like I was his property now. And he was very possessive of me. That's how I felt. And so But
up to this point, you hadn't felt like that, and you hadn't been like that.
No, not possessive at all. Just super, like we had a good time. We always had a great time. And he was always supportive, and it was never any signs that this guy was going to get crazy on me. And so then something happened at my bachelorette party that I told him after the fact, once we got married, and I don't think he didn't.
Can you share?
I can share.
Okay. She's like, something happened.
Oh God.
When you're a little kid and you're like, mom yells like, what are you doing? You're like, nothing. That's what she sounded like. Something.
So we'll just say I got very, very drunk at my bachelorette party. And
this was the night before the wedding?
This was 2 nights before the wedding. And I was not very considerate of my spouse or future spouse. And he was trying to get a hold of me. I wasn't answering the phone. He was out at the airport trying to pick up a friend of mine who was coming in.
So 2 days before he can't get a hold of you. Then 1 day before you can't get a hold of him. Okay.
And so I think that spawned into some of the reasons we were arguing the next day. So anyhow, I ended up, I'm not going to tell exactly what happened, but I told him what happened and he was livid. And so, that night he like punched a hole in the wall, like just got violent and got crazy.
Had he ever gotten violent in that way before?
Well, one time he like threw a bag of chips in my direction and the bag didn't bust, but every chip in the bag broke. And I was like, yo, what type of jujitsu craziness was that? But no, never like anything that frightened me that I thought he was going to hurt me in any way. So we still stayed together. We went out one night and he got really drunk. We got home and pulled.
This is after the wedding.
After the wedding. We got home and he's in the driveway. He's blackout drunk and he's bigger than me. He's heavier than me. I couldn't lift him up to get him in the house. So I was just like, dude, you'll wake up when you wake up. So I go in the house and I go to bed and I wake up to a slap in the face.
Literally
a slap in the face. And I jump up like, what the hell? And I remember eating an apple before I went to bed. And he took
That's a random drunk snack.
Random drunk snack. And he took the apple, he threw it at me, and then I jumped and ran out the room. And he later on tells me that he had blacked out and he thought when he walked in the room that I was in the room with someone else. But there was no one in the fucking room with me. So it was just like a crazy
So I threw an apple at you, slapped you because I was hallucinating and thought that there was somebody else in here?
Pretty much is the explanation I got. So
no,
that should have been enough for me to be like, leave now. But I loved him and I felt like, one-time mistake, it will never happen again. But then it did continue to happen and it got abusive. And I shelled away from all of my friends. So nobody knew that I was going
So how often was this happening?
We got married in 2010. I would say it probably happened again in 2010. And then I got pregnant, lost the baby. I think just too much stress and then all of 2011, it was happening too frequently. And so by the June
he was hitting you?
Hitting me. Yep. Or we would argue. And so I never thought of it as I was being abused. I felt like I'm arguing and I pushed it too far and now I can't handle it. At the time, obviously now I'm like, no, you were being abused and, no man should be putting his hands on you. And if he's arguing with you and he doesn't, and you guys can't handle it, you guys need to walk away from each other.
So while all this is happening, the fights and him hitting you, did you ever think like, I should tell somebody, I should call the police, I should do something else? Like I should escalate this beyond me?
No, because he's a great manipulator. So in our fights, it would be like, if the police show up, I'm going to cut you. Or if the police show up, I'm going to say this.
Well, you can't cut me if the police are here.
Right. But in my mind, I'm just like, I don't want to die. And so I'm going to massage the situation and backpedal out of it so that police don't come and I don't get hurt.
So did you ever call the police?
Never called the police. There was one incident where someone in our apartment building called the police. And when the police showed up, he was able to manipulate 2 male cops. And he was like, hey, officer, it's 3 a.m. My wife just got home. What would you do? And the officers were like, you're right. And turned around and left. Yeah. And there's like a hole in the wall and my jacket's ripped and it was crazy. And I remember going to sleep that night. I had to hide all the knives in the house because I literally thought something was going to happen that night. And so the next morning when he wakes up, he was trying to fix breakfast for us. And he was like, yo, babe, where are all the knives at? And then I'm like ashamed that I had to hide all the knives from him. And so then I'm coddling him again, like, I know you wouldn't do this to me. And it's just a vicious cycle of knowing he's dead wrong, but feeling bad that I feel bad that he's wrong. Like it was just a messy situation. And through all of this, that's where the drugs come in because like we were partying on the weekends and I'm thinking, hey, we're just having a good time. And he's using it to self-medicate. Like he got some other demons that he needs to deal with. And I'm thinking, I'm not thinking that this is why he's using drugs. So like party drugs, like ecstasy and stuff like that. So we ended up, separating. And one night we decided to go out.
Did you guys tell people when you separated?
No. I think like my mom obviously knew because I moved back in with my mom. And his mom.
Did she ask why?
She knew. She knew that things weren't good. So she knew obviously of the first incident. So by the time I finally came back, she knew something wasn't right. And so one night we went out, we had been getting high and I blacked out and don't remember leaving him at the club. I drove and got to wherever I was going and I wake up to a phone call from him like, yo, you fucking left me downtown. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't remember even leaving. I get back. I drive all the way back downtown to get him. And he proceeds to just hit me as I'm driving.
This is out in public now.
Yeah. In the car though, like on the freeway. And that was the moment I felt and I knew I was being abused. Because any other time I felt like, yeah, maybe I was, urging the argument and I was going back and forth. On this incident, I literally was just an innocent, it was an honest mistake. I wasn't arguing, but yet you're still hitting on me.
So after this would happen, what would he say to you? Like what's the comeback from that the next day?
I don't know.
Because it has to be more than and I'm sorry.
Yeah, pretty much I'm sorry. He would want to be intimate with me to make me feel better. Like that was his way of coddling me and making up for hurting me. And I would go through the cycle with him all the time. And after that incident in July, I was like, yeah, enough is enough. So I ended up getting an order for protection against him and moving my...
This is before you guys had your second son?
Yeah, before the second son.
Okay.
So I'm living with my mom. I think... So then he came to my mom's house at some point in time because my mom went out of the country. And so now I'm vulnerable again. He's back with me. And we decided to get high again. And I was on a different substance that I had never tried before, but I always trusted him because he was experienced with everything. And this substance had me so paranoid that I went downstairs and I remember hearing this loud thud and I thought he hit my kid. And so I didn't even go upstairs to look. I call police. Police show up. And when the police arrive, he's upstairs reading a book to our kid. So he didn't hit him. He just, like, the book fell on the floor. But the officer knew right away that I had been abused. They knew that he was on drugs. They could see that I was on drugs. And
well, the reason you thought that, just based on like a thud, and it could have been anything, is because like the PTSD from being abused, and that was very real. So you hear something and you clam up like, oh my God.
Thought the absolute worst. So he goes to jail. And then I, through the courts, they get child protection involved. And then I have to start doing, eventually they tell me I need to do domestic abuse programming. And so then I find out around that time that I'm pregnant. And so I stopped using all drugs and I start doing this domestic abuse programming.
At that point, were you addicted or was this just recreational?
This was just recreational. Had no really desire. It was just like, I'm done. So I get into the domestic abuse program. And at first, while I'm there, I'm just like, I don't need to be here. And I'm only here because I made a mistake and I called the police and he wasn't even doing anything. Like, this is the lie I'm telling myself. And I'm hearing women tell horrible stories about things that have happened to them. I'm like, that's not me. Like, every other time I was arguing, like, I contributed to this. But by the end of the class, I was like, yeah, I needed to be here and I'm being abused. I'm being manipulated. He has like taken over and like secluded me from everybody, like typical power and control abuse, abusive relationship 101. I was in it.
What got you to the point that you finally realized that?
We would do different exercises and projects in the class. So at the beginning of the class, we had to do a vision board and like what are things that are important to us. And then at the end of the class, we did a different vision board after we've done all of these exercises. And literally the first side of it, it was all about him. Like, he has feelings too. And you should be a better wife. And you should do like all of this like warped my mindset that I had. And by the end of it, it was like, you are beautiful. You are strong. You have power and control over your own body and no one should ever put their hands on you. Like, I was just empowered and equipped to walk away and be strong for myself.
Because domestic abuse isn't about just the physical part of it, because there is a mental conditioning that's going on in order to keep you around to be able to do it again and maintain control.
And nobody would have thought that I would ever be in an abusive relationship. Like, I'm always been a very strong person, opinionated, excelled in school. So for me to get caught up in this type of situation, people were shocked to find out that I was there. Yeah. So eventually, we officially legally separated. I moved in with a family from my church. I got pregnant, or I had Nicholas, our youngest. And then, but while we were still trying to figure out if we were going to work it out or not. Like, I just didn't want to have my marriage fail. But then he was deeper into drugs than I had realized. And But at this point, you guys weren't living together. No, we weren't living together. So I ended up filing for divorce and officially divorced him in 2013.
Did you confront him at any point and say, hey, after you'd been through that domestic abuse program, did you ever confront him and say, hey, you abused me, number one, and number two, like, I need an apology? Or was there ever a conversation with him directly about it?
I can't remember. I know we've had some conversation to that effect. I remember him being very insecure about me being in the domestic abuse program and not telling him what we were talking about in there. Because at the time, the court also required us to do counseling, but I felt like he was manipulating the therapist. Yes, together. And I felt like he was manipulating the therapist. And so I just didn't trust him. I didn't feel safe around him. So I remember telling him that I love him, but I don't feel safe. I love him, but I'm scared of him. So I would ordinarily want to come to him with stuff, but I'm afraid of him. And I can't, and the two of them can't coexist. And so I can't be with you anymore. So I remember having that conversation and him saying, he never wanted to hurt me, but I'm like, but you did hurt me. And so I don't think there was ever been a satisfactory apology. He's apologized profusely, but it's all, even to this day, sometimes he'll say, you left me and you broke up our home, as if he wasn't guilty of breaking up our home.
Yeah. Hitting me kind of contributes to breaking up the home.
Right. So yeah, a full-fledged apology. No, I don't think I've received that. I'm not waiting for it. I've forgiven him and I keep it moving.
How did he take it when you filed for the divorce?
Took it hard. Cause the day when I moved out, he didn't know that I was leaving him. Like he thought that we were just living separately. And then one day he showed up at the house and everything was empty. Like I was I was legit gone. So that
moved in a day.
Really, like some people from the church came and they just packed up all my stuff and had me gone and like had me in a safe house that he wouldn't know where I lived. So he took it hard and he was trying to contest the divorce. He didn't want us to get divorced. But he missed.
Can you do that?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
So somebody could file for a divorce.
Yes.
And then you could say, no, I don't want this.
Yes.
And then that's a possibility like the court could block that.
I don't know if they ever would block it. They would probably still grant it. I haven't experienced anything like it. I got granted it because he didn't show up because he got arrested 2 days before we were supposed to go to court to contest the divorce. And the judge just granted me everything. Once she read like the OFP.
What's OFP?
That's the order for protection. She read like his criminal record, all of that. And she was just like, yeah, good for you. And good riddance.
Right.
Yeah. And so he found out in jail that we were divorced. He called me.
That's not funny.
It's not funny at all because I felt bad.
Right.
Like I knew he wanted to be there. He wanted to say his piece. He probably wanted joint custody and stuff like that. But at the same time, I felt like what needed to happen happened. Like it was God's way of not making sure that divorce happened.
Right.
And so yeah, I felt bad saying like, yeah, we're divorced now. But it was it wasn't like a celebratory. It wasn't bittersweet. I just kind of felt numb. Like I was this person that I loved dearly, but hurt me dearly. And now I felt like a failure. Like I was one of the first in my friends to get married at this grand wedding. We had been together since we were 17. And so people looked up to us. People didn't really realize how messy it was.
Right.
Because I never shared. So now when they hear it, they're like, man, you went through some things with that man. And I'm like, yeah, I did.
Ooh. So going back to what happened after that, when you were at the point where you decided, I need to restart my life and figure out what's next. You said you got like a grant for law school, went to law school, and then what happened?
I took the LSAT. I did well. Then I started applying to law schools and I got accepted into all of the law schools I applied to. And then
good for you, Nadine.
Thank you. And so then I posted on Facebook that I accepted this school. It's William Mitchell. It's no longer William Mitchell. It's Mitchell Hamlin. But I said I accepted that school because I was working full time and this school provided a part-time opportunity for me to go to school. So I'm working full time, trying to go to law school, got 2 kids. And then a family member from my church sends me an inbox and she was like, I've been watching you and I'm so proud of you. And I either want to pay for you to go to law school or pay your living expenses.
Wow.
And I literally start bawling because I'm like, God, you know what I've been going through. And I don't even know how to thank you enough.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. It was like I knew, like I just had this huge faith that I'm like, I don't know how it's going to happen, how I'm doing all this or how this is going to happen, but I know it's going to happen in some way. And literally the next day a prayer was answered.
That's the thing. Like when you really want something, you have to go for it and then figure out how it's going to work later. Because if you try to figure it out, you're going to get yourself stuck in a cycle of, well, I guess I can't do it because I don't have that amount of money yet. I don't have the time yet. Whatever excuses you're going to come up with. So it's almost best to make the decision like, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And God, the universe, like makes things fall into place after that.
It says it I've read The Alchemist, and The Alchemist says that when you really want something, the universe will conspire to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's literally what happened. So I ended up taking the option for them to pay my living expenses. So I was able to quit my job and go to school full time and not have to worry about work. So that my job was to focus on school and kids.
That's amazing.
And I did well. I did well in law school. I graduated in 3 years and took the bar right away, passed the bar the first time, and got a job before I even passed the bar. And now I'm working as a criminal defense attorney. And living the dream.
Do you ever think about that, Nadine? Just what your life could have been, like how close you were to a whole different life?
Absolutely. I see my clients and I'm like, I could have been one of you. I could have easily been caught with drugs one day. I could have had my kids taken away. I could not be here. I could be dead, literally. but by the grace of God, I'm here. And so I live life purposely. I try to be very intentional because I know God, the creator, the universe has me here for a purpose, and I'm going to make sure that I live that out.
I get chills every time I hear your story because there is such a thin line between success and failure. And it's crazy when you think about it.
Right. I walked it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So right now you're a public defender. What's that like?
It's good on some days. I love when I walk in and my clients who are majority Black or Native, people of color, and they see a person of color and they're like, man, I've never seen a Black attorney, a Black female attorney. They're just excited. I don't like the police. So I litigate a lot of cases because I feel like they are equipped with so much power. And it's like, just to do your job right. And I see a lot of bad police work. Not all bad, but a lot of bad. So it's great knowing that I'm getting cases dismissed for my clients, getting favorable outcomes for my clients. And I feel like I'm good at my job. So I love it.
That's dope.
Wish they paid us more. So if you have any contacts with your legislature, make sure you tell them to pay their public defenders more.
You have 2 sons.
2 sons, 10 years old and 6 years old.
And what is the relationship between them and their dad? Just I guess the question is, you and him have had sort of a tumultuous relationship.
Right.
Has that seeped into the relationship with him and the kids?
No, I shield them from that. He's an amazing father to his kids when he's in a good headspace. So if he's not in a good place, he doesn't come around. If he's in a good headspace, he's there. He makes sure he's paid child support. He buys things for the kids. He does for them. He's active in their sports. So he's great to them. They love their dad.
Is your relationship with him better now?
We're cordial. I think I don't argue. I don't nitpick on anything. I don't really mess with him too much. Like, he comes around, I say, hey, how you doing? We can have small talk. He's super proud of me, of all the things that I've accomplished. I think that fucks with him and realize, like, damn, I messed up. But he is supportive and helps when I need the help. So, like, he'll take the kids this weekend while I'm out here. Mm-hmm. So we get along. He's married now. He's moved on.
Does he have other kids?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about him being married?
When I found out, I found out in a fucked up way. Like, my sister-in-law, my ex-sister-in-law sent me a message like, did he get married? And I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, I was just on Facebook and I see this picture. And I was like, hold on, go to Facebook.
Why does everything start with, so I was on Facebook and...
And I looked and I was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, congrats. It would have been nice to tell me or your kids at least. So, but yeah, he's in a relationship with the girl. So I didn't say it. He was also cheating on me. And so he married the woman that he was cheating on me with.
Wow, the side piece never really gets the ring, but once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah.
So do you know or get along with her? Like, is this, do you interact with her at all?
I do now. I'm able to say hello. No, we've grown past that. Like, he was painting my 10-year-old's room for his birthday, and she came in and helped him do the stuff in the room, and I left, but at least before I wouldn't even let her park in my driveway. So we've
park on the street, please. Stay in the car on the street.
A long way.
Do your sons know about his history of being in jail or anything like that?
They know he was in jail. And my oldest one was aware that his dad just disappeared and went to prison. So he has gone through therapy to help him deal with the absence of his dad, because his dad they were really close. And there was a point in time where he stayed at home and did, like, I worked and he stayed at home with our oldest one. Mm-hmm. And so that was hard on my older one for his dad to just be gone. Nicholas was younger. He was a baby.
Right.
So he didn't realize that he was gone. And so there's even this picture on Facebook where the first day he meets him, he's kind of looking at him like, who is this guy? And he was almost,
I don't know you.
Yeah, he was like he was at least 1.5 when he finally met his dad. So my second pregnancy, again, I did it by myself because he had went to prison. So I divorced him within 6 months of having our youngest child.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting, but therapy has helped quite a bit. And so that's how I'm able to get I'm in a better relationship with the girl. Because I blamed her a lot, despite all of how fucked up our relationship was.
Right.
I kept saying like, I could have made it work. We could have made it work, and therapy could have helped. Treatment would have helped. But this girl. And then my therapist was like, but hold on, your shit was fucked up
Before this girl.
And so reframing it and just, thanking her, because but for this girl, you would have kept trying to make this marriage work. And because of this girl, you were able to just be frustrated enough to walk away.
Right.
And I'm sitting there bawling in therapy. I was like, him hitting me wasn't enough, but cheating on me.
Right. And isn't that I was just thinking that as you were saying it.
I don't know.
Like, why was that the straw that broke the camel's back?
I guess it was just because I endured so much with him, and I allowed you to hurt me, and I stayed with you, and yet you still disrespected me to another level, and took my kindness for a weakness and stepped out on me as I'm still here trying to fight for whatever broken pieces that we have. Mm-hmm. And it was just too much. And I was just like, fuck you, I'm out. Now,
what would you tell somebody that's in this situation, maybe a situation of abuse?
I would tell him to leave. You got to go. It's not going to stop. He may say he'll never do it again. He's probably going to do it again because you're told him that you're going to stick around. And so you got to go, and you got to get help, get support, tell somebody, and never look back.
What did you feel like you learned from that experience, the marriage and the relationship with him?
Man, I have trust issues. So I need to take time to get to know a person. I remember there's, one of my godmoms told me, always have like a huge argument, so you can see how that person.
I'm going to start an argument real quick.
So you see how the person handles it, because we never argued like that before we got married. So our first major argument was him punching a wall. And so then I got to realize, oh, you're a violent person. But if we had argued before or had some major blow up, I would have seen that ahead of time to know this person is a violent person.
Wow. I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend starting an argument, but you do have to know how people get mad and how they react in really uncomfortable situations. Yeah, situations.
Absolutely. So I don't know how I will obviously wouldn't say, yeah, go pick a fight, but just pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how they handle stress. Pay attention to what triggers them. Pay attention to how they react to small things. Cause then you'll know, like, when something big comes up, how they're going to respond to a degree, I guess.
Like the people that are in traffic or in a car and you see them and they just get so angry off of like somebody cutting them off. Right. Like that's probably a sign that they're going to get angry if you guys get into it on a crazy level.
Absolutely.
If you mad at a traffic light, come on. Right. Yep. Wow. So now what's going on dating wise?
I'm not dating. I'm trying to. I'm on social or on dating apps. Yeah. On Tinder, I have a page, Plenty of Fish. I used to have Bumble. All of it's trash to me. It's just, I'm old fashioned and I'd rather be out and somebody be like, hey, that guy over there just sent you a drink. Like, I don't know if I'm just in the movies about this, but I just want someone to actually just come up to me and say hello. Rather than me swiping, because I feel like you have this pool of people, and so it's a game. You're just sitting here swiping. You match with people. They don't say anything to you. In Minnesota, all of the pictures are with white men holding fish.
That's a classic Minnesota photo.
So I'm just like, I don't fish. I don't know is there an inside joke?
It really is. I've swiped on Tinder in Minnesota, and every other picture is a white man holding a fish or next to a deer head.
Yeah, or with guns and just like, I'm over it. Yeah. So I keep it open because they say you got to play to win. And so at least I'm available if for some reason the right guy swipes and I swipe one day. But I'm not really doing too much dating, but I'm available.
Can we talk about the guy you were recently seeing? Because I think there's a good lesson in that.
Okay, so I met this guy 2 years ago, the night Prince died. I love Prince. And
she's literally wearing a Purple Rain shirt right now.
And so I met him, but the night when I met him, we hit it off. We had a great night. But a mutual friend that introduced us was like, he's not in a good place. Let it go. So I let it go. Out of sight, out of mind, never thought about him. fast forward to this August that just passed, I ran into him and we hit it off again. And I'm like, oh, maybe this time's the right time. And it felt at first like it was the right time. And we hung out and we spent time together. And it was like the first night we were holding hands, like, I like you. And it was just, and we had like deep conversation for someone who it just like it just rekindled, and it felt like automatic chemistry. So we went out one time, and then the next time we were supposed to hang out, he stood me up. And I was livid because I was waiting up, and I got to work, and I got a career, I got kids, and you're wasting my time. And so I didn't hear from him. I never called him. I never said anything to him. And then I went out one night with my cousin, and I bumped into him at the club. And I just turned to my right, and he was standing there. And so I feel like he must have saw me or something. So I look, and I just turned away from him, and I was like, you know, I'm mad at you. And then he was like, I know, I'm sorry. And I got a lot going on. I'm stressed out. I got depression, like all types of excuses he was giving me. And I was like, you can miss me with all that. It's 2 words you could say that could alleviate all of this. And he was like, my bad, I'm sorry. And so now I'm back to smiling and giddy because I'm a damn fool sometimes. And he's cute. So I'm just like, hey, okay. So I didn't go back home with him that night. Went our separate ways. The next day he texted me saying, I'm really happy I saw you. I'm going to make time for you. So fast forward, we end up going out again, had a good time. And then he stood me up again, another different date.
So no phone call.
No phone call.
No text, no nothing.
No nothing.
Just you guys were supposed to meet at a certain time. He just never showed.
So the next day I text him and I'm like, yo, or I think I called and he didn't answer. And then he called me later and was like, my bad, I fell asleep last night and I've been running around all morning. And I just was annoyed because I'm like, it's
just disrespectful.
It's hella disrespectful.
And not even on a romantic level, just general that's not how you treat people.
Right. I felt like if it were me, if I fell asleep, the moment I woke up, I don't care if I woke up at 3 a.m, you would have got a text like, yo, my bad, I just woke up.
Right. Some sort of remorse for the accident.
But there was none of that. So he had like a show going on that night.
Like low key, when people do stuff like that, I'm like, I hope you're dead because that's the only way that something like this is okay.
And it made sense to me because I was like, so what is going on? Like, I'm pretty dope.
Like, you better not be alive when you call me, okay?
But for real.
Low key, don't call me alive.
So he ended up apologizing, and I'm like, I'm in the car with my girls as he's calling, and I'm like, my one friend, she was like, girl, number 3. She holds up the number 3, and she was like, 3 strikes and he's out. He gets one more chance. And I told him that. I was like, this is your last chance to waste my time. And if you do it again, guarantee you're not going to see me again.
Why did you even go for a third chance?
I don't know, because I liked him. So I figured, his excuse seemed sort of valid, but not really. But why not? Like I enjoyed his company.
It's like that episode of Insecure when Daniel just disappeared and then came back.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay. So I decided to talk to him. I saw him a few nights later, went to his show, had a great time, went home with him that night, had a great time. And then the next night, we talked to each other. We're fine. We end up going out again and had a great night. And then that night we're laying down and I literally ask him like, what are we doing? Or what do you want? And he says he doesn't know. And I'm like, well, I want a relationship. And he's like, he's not in a place for a relationship. He's got a lot going on. He needs to figure out his life. He has kids that he needs to be getting his shit together for. So essentially what he's looking for is a friends with benefits. And I'm just like, well, that's not what I'm looking for. And then I talked to him about it, like start entertaining it for a bit. And I'm like, well, if I were to get a friends with benefits, this is what it would look like. You need to actually be a friend. And if we're saying we're going to see each other on Thursday, you need to be here on Thursday. And he was like, I respect the hell out of that. I've never had a woman be forward with me about that. I'm like, we're grown. Why can't we be real with each other about that? So
let me ask you this though. If you were looking for a relationship, why even begin to entertain the friends with benefits conversation?
I don't know. Part of me felt like, why cut it off if I know I'm enjoying the time that we do have together? Why deprive myself of that? That's how I felt. But literally, it was short-lived. Okay. So we had this conversation on a Sunday night. By Tuesday, I texted him and I said, I can't do this. Like, I thought about it and this isn't what I want. And so I cut it off. And it was hard. I remember texting you like, Tennesha, what do I do?
I was like, cut that off.
So I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm done. Like I value myself, and why fall for something? Like why settle for something knowing that I like this guy?
Yep.
And only to set myself up to get my feelings hurt. So I ended up cutting it off. And I'm happy.
The message here is like, you deserve what you want.
Right.
And you don't have to be mad at people for not wanting what you want or not giving you what you want, but you do have to move on.
Right.
Because if you stick around when somebody is not giving you what you want, that says, this is what I want.
Absolutely.
This behavior is okay.
Absolutely.
Like, it's all good. I will accept that. So it's really like, I like that early on and up front, you establish, like, so what is it that you want?
Right.
Okay, well, here's what I want. Like, get on the same page, but don't. The thing is, people wait. They wait till it's too late. They wait till 6 months down the line. They're like, well, we've been seeing each other for 6 months now. I just want to know what this is. It's too late. Right. You need to establish these things way up front. I'm like personally like a date one sort of. Right. You know, I like to establish like on a first date, like, so like, what are you looking for? Right. Oh, you just like our hookup thing? Okay, like that's cool. Like, good luck in your search, you know?
And for full disclosure, I have very little experience dating. And so this is like the first time that I'm actually out here trying to date and doing it the right way. And so it's foreign for me to have that conversation. Like, hey, what are we looking for? Normally it's like, hey, we're talking, we're hooking up, and no one defines anything. Right. And so as I'm 35 now, I'm like, hey, no, I ain't got time to waste. I wasted a lot of time with a man that I thought was going to be the one, and he wasn't. And so I'm not going to waste time with anybody. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I entertained it for a split second because I was like, hey, feels great. I don't want to get out this bed. But at the same time, like, no, there's someone else that's better out there for me.
So what are you looking for?
I like someone who's fun and family oriented. I have kids. I would prefer someone who might have a kid or two of their own, because I'm kind of at that space where I don't know if I want anymore. So we can just have our,
the Brady Bunch,
Black Brady Bunch. Yeah. I need someone who is ambitious. I'm an ambitious person, and have your shit together. I still have goals that I'm trying to achieve and may not be where I want to be, but I'm somewhere right now. And so be there. I like someone who don't have mommy issues. I think my ex struggled with that. And I think that's some of his disrespect for women is because he didn't respect his own mom.
Mm-hmm. That's such a sign.
It's huge.
Like when a man says, oh, I don't like my mom, or, oh, I don't talk to my mom, or like that. Watch out for that. Right. Watch out.
Walk away. Don't even watch out.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Right.
Unless he's like gone through therapy and explain, and there's like some deeper issue as to why.
Right.
He has to have resolved that. And if you haven't resolved that, I can't deal with you. Mm-hmm. I need someone who's funny. I like to laugh. I like to have a good time. I need someone who's responsible. I like someone who I like thick men. I like a thicker, so physically.
A football body?
Yeah, football body, yes.
I have a friend, Angel, shout out Angel. Hi, Angel. She always used to say, she's like, I just like a football body. You
got to be woke. I'm a social justice minded person. I'm a Zeta, so we're community conscious. Like, you need to have a heart for people. Be generous, be caring, be considerate. And let's enjoy life together. Like, tomorrow's not promised, so let's enjoy it together.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you had any good dates?
I went out on a couple of days recently with this one guy. He's Nigerian. I'm Liberian, LIB. And it was great. We had great dates. He's funny. He was shorter than me, so I let it go. But
I love how I let it go. I didn't make a big thing of it. I didn't, let him know he was short because I didn't know if he knew. I'd let it go. I'm generous like that.
I was very generous. But he was definite. He wanted a kid, and I just wasn't feeling him enough to even continue going on dates to waste his money. Cause I was just like, I know I don't want a kid. I know that's a huge deal breaker for you. So let's just not continue to do this. Mm-hmm. And so I broke it off, but I had fun dates with him.
That's mature.
Yeah. I'm pretty mature. I got over the height.
Yo, women really need to stop with that, though.
I know.
The height shaming, it really has got to stop.
It was hard.
Like, my mom put something in my head one time, and I haven't been able to get it out. And I've tried to move past it, but she's like, Tennesha, you ever noticed all the president them and the CEO? the 6 foot are over. You not see no shot, man. And I'm like, So then after she said that, I went on Wikipedia. I was like, I'm going to look up presidential heights because that can't be right. She was actually right.
Big facts.
Most of the presidents are over 6 foot.
Hey,
like there was probably like 5 to 6 presidents that have been under that.
I believe it. Mama knows.
And then I was like, let me see average height of CEOs. I'm like, damn it, she's right. So in my mind, because she said this stuff to me since I was little. Right. Like my mom's just sometimes mad inappropriate. And so she said this stuff to me since I was little. And so in my mind, I was like, man, like if I date a short man, like he's just like not going to be successful or really doing anything in life. As if the size of your actual body has anything to do with your intelligence, brain, or how far you get in life. So I just think we've been conditioned to think that a man isn't a man, if he doesn't come with a certain height. And we all know that's not the height that really matters anyway.
I agree. But I do like beards. You got to have a beard. Beard gang matters.
I don't trust beards.
I love it.
Yes. You know why?
Why?
I don't trust. Beards to me is the male equivalent of contouring.
Stop.
You've seen those things where it's like a chick to just without makeup, and then you're just like, you have transformed into a whole different person. You don't look. Who are you?
Girl.
And that's how I feel about men with beards. Like you'll see them with a beard, and you're just like, wow, he is sexy. Yeah. Then you see him without a beard, and you're like, Lord,
grow that back.
What's the guy who used to date? He plays for, I think, the Houston Rockets.
Oh, I know.
He used to date Khloe Kardashian.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about?
You're talking about.
You ever seen this guy without his beard?
It changed lives. You can't.
I was like, don't ever be without that beard.
If you're, this is my thing. If you're capable of growing a beard, I want the beard. Like, if you can't grow it, I'm not going to discriminate against you. We can kick it. But if you can and you cut that off, I won't touch you. I won't talk to you. I'll talk to you, but don't touch me until it grows back. Like that's literally how I was with my ex-husband. I love beards.
Yeah, I don't trust. I got to see you with and without.
Okay. Right. Find one that could do both.
Get you a dude that could do both. So what's next for you?
I am in the works of writing a book. It's called It's About Time, because it's about time I write this story. Mm-hmm. And it's about 13 chapters. I'm 3 chapters in so far. And then I'm also working on a podcast right now, but in its infancy stages, so I won't talk too much. But check me out on In Tune Heart, and you'll find out what's going on with me. _in _tune TUNE_heart.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I've been telling Nadine forever that she needs to share her story to a wider audience, because I do think that it'll inspire so many people. When you're in a moment of just things are dire and you don't know what's next and you can't see it, it feels like it's the end. Like it feels like life will never be different. Life will always be like this in this moment. So I think it's important to hear from people who have been there and are on the other side of it.
Right. I always say I'm living without what I thought I couldn't live without, because I thought I could not live without this man, and I'm living my best life right now. So
love it.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for listening tonight. And please let me know what you think of today's show. You can reach me at Tennesha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.